Hello, I'm the X-Toy Cat, and welcome back to the video. Today we're going to talk about hidden textures in Minecraft. And by hidden textures, I don't just mean textures which are hidden within the game files and that you'll never be able to see naturally, but instead I mean things that you could see anytime you wanted to in Minecraft, but that no one ever does, because for instance, a guardian is something that you're usually too busy fighting to look inside of, or the same goes for the other mobs we'll be talking about today. And today I wanted to show you 5 hidden textures inside Minecraft. Hopefully you all do enjoy the video. Like it if you do like it, because it helps out the channel and lets know you do like seeing hidden textures that you might not have figured about. With that said, let's get straight into it, shall we? And let's start with the first one here, which is to do with these zombie pigmen. So the zombie pigmen, which we have the spawn egg for right here, is actually a really interesting mob for a whole bunch of reasons. It's one of the early mobs from the game. It's based on the zombie in a lot of ways, and rather interesting to me at least. It has a second layer of texture on the inside, which means that the outside of the face, as you can see, it's like half zombie, half pig, the zombie pigman. But if you look on the inside of the face, because it has 2 separate textures, one for the inside and one for the outside, you can kind of see it poking through there actually. If you look on the inside, then he looks entirely different. It's almost entirely white on the inside, and then you can kind of see the face. He looks almost like a creeper on the inside, which is really, really intriguing to me. So yeah, the zombie pigman is actually kind of white and green on the inside, and is one of the very few mobs to have a, like second texture on the inside, which is really, really bizarre, because no one's really meant to be looking on the inside of a zombie pigman, but yet it's something you can do. So yeah, that's rather interesting by itself, but more interesting than this to me is the fact that if you look at the, there's an unused part of the texture, which actually just says, thanks Xaphobia. So Xaphobia was the first person to come up with the idea for zombie pigments, and as a thank you, he's always in the texture for the zombie pigment. Obviously, again, it's not actually visible in the game, but still, the fact that you could, they have a thank you in the texture itself is a cool little, nod to the guy who came up with it. So with that said, let's move on to the second hidden texture in Minecraft, which is to do with the piston. So this is something you might know about if you've used modded maps a bit, but if you don't know about that, then fun little fact is that, pistons are actually made up of 3 separate textures. Sticky pistons and regular ones. It's all the same thing, because there's the, the piston when it's like this, just like piston with block on top. Then there's 2 other types of piston, which actually it turns into when you extend it. So it's hard to actually see this naturally, but because we're in a really laggy world, everything happens very slowly, and we can kind of see the process to prove this is the point, because when you extend a piston, you actually end up with, 2 separate textures. You get the piston head and you get the piston body. These are, again, 2 separate blocks as far as the game is concerned, and although without modding the game, you can't get the piston head separately, you can't get the piston body separately, they are, distinct textures from what we had before. And let's show you that, again, by breaking it and showing it. So here's, the texture going from these 2 back into the first one. As you can see, the first texture vanishes, and then this piston comes back, because that's how it works. And again, it happens when you actually make it extend for the first time. This texture vanishes, and then in its place, you get the piston arm, and then the piston body, which, as you can see, doesn't have the thing on top anymore. So yeah, that's something rather interesting you might not have known. The piston is actually made up of 2 distinct textures, and in fact, there's a, one of the weirdest glitches. It exists on PC for a bit. You could actually break through bedrock using the fact that, the piston texture would change to your advantage to kind of replace bedrock with a piston head. It was a really bizarre one, and it's something you might not have known. So yeah, that is a fun fact about the piston. It's actually made of 2 or 3 separate textures, and when it's extended, it's 2 separate textures, which you might not have known, and that's relevant for a few different things, especially glitches. But in case, that's not enough for you, like, okay, that's pretty cool, then maybe the next one is because the armor stand seems like a very innocent, like, piece of thing. It's like, oh, it's made from wood with a bit of, like, stoner bomb. Pretty easy stuff, right? However, again, this is another one where if you look inside the, the game file for the texture, it actually, says Sarge on it, in an unused part of it, because the armor stand was actually created by Sarge, so he put, like, a little signature thing on it, which is one of the very few textures. Again, there's only 3 of these in the game, which has this hidden message inside the texture, and yeah, it says Sarge. I'll show you on screen right now. It's pretty darn cool. So yeah, that's it. Let's move on to the 4th hidden texture, which is to do with TNT. So everyone loves TNT, and you can probably work out that I might have had a bit of fun, testing this one, because, TNT is great fun. But the thing you might not know about TNT is that when it turns into an entity, it only has 1 layer of texture. So kind of in a reverse of the zombie pigman one, where there's 2 layers of texture and they're both visible from the inside. Like, if you can technically go between the layers, which means, you get technically 4 textures, like inside of this, outside of this, etc. Like here you can see 1 texture, 2 texture, 3 texture, 4 texture. So there's 4 textures for a zombie pigman if you're on the inside of it, but a TNT only has the 1 texture even when you detonate it. So yeah, right now it's a block, so you can't see on the inside, but if we detonate it, and we can, then the interesting thing about this to me is the fact that, okay, we actually did that slightly wrong. Let's just let the TNT explode. If you look on the inside, you can see there's absolutely nothing here, and it probably starts exploding. Let's just leave the TNT jumping up and down. Again, this is a very slow world, so everything happens in very slow motion, which lets us see stuff like this, because if we go over here and we try the exact same thing, so again, place our TNT, place our redstone block block just over here, and then let's go below it. Then as you're actually going to be able to see right here, inside the TNT, there is nothing. Like, it's an invisible texture on the inside, which is really, really intriguing to me. The fact that TNT has just the one texture, as opposed to some mobs which have 4, even though they're both entities. But even more intriguing than that to me is the fact that the TNT, when it turns into an entity, so again, let's place some TNT there, look below it, you don't see anything. If you do turn it into, you know, like, again, an entity, then it actually casts a shadow below. Okay, wait, let's place that properly. It actually casts a shadow below itself for a second, so you can actually see this a little bit better over here. But yeah, when your TNT turns into an entity, you get a shadow below the thing to kind of say, oh, that hurts a little bit, sorry about that. I don't like getting too close to TNT when it's like that, but it actually casts a shadow underneath itself, which you usually don't get to see, but it is in fact there. So yeah, TNT casts a shadow, but doesn't turn into a texture in a really bizarre little turn of events. So with that said, let's move on to the final texture here, which is the horrifying one I might have mentioned earlier, because it is to do with the Guardians. So Guardians, again, they're a terrifying mob because you stare at them for more than a few seconds, and suddenly you've been hit by a laser beam which can go through armor. It's terrifying stuff, but even cooler, or even more terrifying than that, I should say, is what happens if you get too close to a Guardian. So from the outside, you know, a Guardian looks, you know, those look like weird, like, fins, you know, it looks like an interesting mob, but if you look at the inside of a Guardian, it's even, you know, even more terrifying in my opinion, because look at the inside of this thing. It's just teeth and gums, and oh my god, it's just, I really don't like it looking at the inside of this thing, because apparently those are teeth that are just munching. Really do not like seeing that at all. And yeah, as it turns out, the you know, again, the Guardian has the same thing, where the inside texture is entirely different to the outside one, and I really do not like seeing this one. But in case, you know, seeing the mouth full of, like, internally reaching teeth is not horrifying enough for you, then maybe, or not cool enough for you, maybe one thing you might not have known is that there's one, you know, there's like a hidden texture on this, like there is on the zombie Pigmen, which was done by Notch, and like there was on the armor stand, which was done by Sarge. If you look on if you look at the texture for the Guardian, there actually is a tiny message which says Jeb, and that's actually true for the Elder Guardian too, so there's a fun fact you might not have known about both of these mobs. And yeah, I really don't recommend looking on the inside of these, because it's not too fun a thing, but it is something you can do, and it is a thing that exists. So yeah, those are 5 hidden textures in Minecraft: the piston head and the piston, you know, body after it's extended, the TNT and the zombie Pigmen, the armor stand, and the Guardian. Let me know what you think about all of these, and let me know if this, you know, gives you nightmares as well as me, because I'd be very curious about that. Otherwise, like the video if you did like it, share if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and if subscribed, you'll see them daily on your homepage. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.